What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys back yet again, and back into the Metal Gear Solid beta. And we're running through, and this is just a quick guide and actually just a quick playthrough of doing the quick match on the mine, which is arguably the hardest map there is within the beta. So I'm going to talk through it. We're going to play through it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of talk about my setup and everything like that, and then from there I'm also going to just kind of share with some tips and some stuff that I've learned over the course of the little bit that I've been able to play. Like I said, having a ton of fun playing this game. I did a video the other day that kind of talks through my initial impressions, what I like and don't like, and so if you haven't seen that or you're kind of curious, feel free hop over and check that out. Otherwise, like I said, if you've been in the beta, if you've got at this point, I think you've got just about a day left to play. So if you haven't, go pick it up, test it out, see what you like, and give it a run. Like I said, I've really enjoyed it. This is probably going to be a game that I definitely pick up, and like I said, I probably would not have had I not picked up the beta, but I'm happy I did. And like I said, we're going to talk through this. So at this point, when I'm running through this, I want to say I'm about level 17 or so. It is recommended for this mission that you're level 20. Level 20 is the beta cap, so you can make it all the way up to level 20. And honestly, I didn't have that much time into it before making it to level 20, so I was kind of surprised that it was only up to there. But honestly, probably a good point. You can see all these enemies in this. That's why this was one of the hardest missions, is because all of the enemies are level 20. So it definitely recommends that you are level 20 before you get into it, and I was definitely not. And you can see I'm having a hard time here. I'm working the pistol, I'm working the shotgun quite a bit. Obviously my two preferred weapons here. This is definitely one of the missions that you want to have a full squad and team up with people. So I just did a quick play options, ended up jumping into this. The first and foremost reason that you'd want to do this, obviously, is because the gear that you get at the end of this is just really, really good. So I finally got some rare gear, which I was super happy with once we finished it. We ended up finishing with a really good rank. I got an S rank on this, so that definitely helped. But definitely, if you get the chance, if you've leveled up a little bit, if you've gotten some equipment, and actually you can kind of stockpile yourself a little bit, I recommend trying to get this in here, do a quick play match, and try to take this one down. Like I said, it is very tough. This first initial wave, not really too bad, but again, if you're under level 20, you're definitely going to suffer from just having a difficult time killing some of these enemies. I burned through pretty much all of my ammo at this point, or in this match, and I have to rely pretty solely actually on just my equipment and my build items that I've been able to bring in. So like I said, definitely a tough mission. We'll talk through my loadout, or actually my preferred loadout, at the end of this. It's a different loadout that I actually brought into this, but for this match I brought in the bow with fire arrows. Not really going to recommend fire arrows. I would have rather had a full complement of 80 regular arrows, to be honest. If you're a fan of fire arrows or the heavy arrows, it's something that you can do, but like I said, I would rather have just had the majority of the ammo. I don't think the burn damage is actually that good, and the fact that a lot of these enemies, because they're so quick, are going to get close to you, that kind of hinders you from having the ability to actually get away, and they can burn you, obviously, and it burns a pretty good area of the ground, so something to keep in consideration. So I'm running, again, the bow, I'm running the machete. I've got a lot of different build options, to include the just wire fence, which I'm a really big fan of. I've also have the barricade, a couple other things, and I did bring in 2 turrets with me, which you're going to see one of my turrets right here. This definitely is one of the things I would absolutely have. So I actually set up this defense point. I like to put multiple levels of defense at this. I was kind of reliant on my team to kind of cover the right hand side of the map, actually the portion that I'm shooting right now, and then I took care of essentially the defenses on the left hand side for this wave. And you can see even at a lower level, this turret is just absolutely freaking brutal. So the nice part here is, again, I'm a big fan of the wire fences because they allow you to puncture or shoot through, which is really nice, and not have them take any damage. So essentially set those up on the left hand side. I'm going to be watching for them. I'm going to be using this turret to try to do as much damage as I can. You can see I get the bomber here. I end up taking him out, which is pretty awesome. I think he explodes and takes out a lot of these guys, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not sure. Usually they do, sometimes they don't. But I've got a pretty good little setup here of defenses that I can kind of rely on. Now, the other important thing to note that you know, when you queue this up, there's a good chance that you're going to get some lower level players again. I'm level 17, I think, at this point. The other guy that's down right now on our team is pretty low level, I believe. So just kind of keep that in mind. The nice thing is it's quick to revive. So make sure you do that, and just carry lots of healing items with you. If your team's at least semi-decent, you guys shouldn't have too much of a problem getting through the first 2 waves, but just kind of keep that in mind. But again, like I said, this turret, I wish they had more ammo, but the sole fact that this thing did as good of a job as it did, made it through a good portion of the wave, and ended up allowing me to get a bunch of kills actually was pretty cool, pretty beneficial. So definitely recommend bringing in 2 or more of those. The other thing I would recommend that we end up using on the 3rd round is going to be like the flame and the shock traps. Those things are absolutely awesome. Definitely recommend, like I said, I will show you my preferred loadout at the end of this after I was able to kind of collect and grab some materials. Definitely the traps, those traps in it specifically, super worth it. And the reason I say that is just the fact that they do damage over time. They do a good amount of damage. They have a ton of health, so it's hard for them to be taken down. Made it just so it was kind of a no-brainer to pick them up. The other thing to kind of consider, and this is something that my team did a little bit. This was a terrible placement of this turret right here, but something that my team did that I would kind of try to shy away from if you can is to put really any barriers down inside the circle. Again, if you guys have been playing this a while, you know that as soon as the wave ends, it's going to throw out that shockwave. That shockwave is actually going to do pretty much quite a bit of damage to all of your stuff. And the thing that sucks the most about that is the fact that essentially anything you put down inside the circle is going to get destroyed when it comes to barriers or anything like that. So I kind of made that play mistake there of putting that turret down, because I'm going to end up not even really using it. And I'm going to end up just trying to move over here and actually pick up this crate right here from this guy. That's the other kind of side tip that I have for you. If you want to get a high rank on a lot of this stuff, make sure to go and do the side missions. There are usually a couple side missions per area or per wave. Most times I think I've seen upwards of 2 if not 3 in one, so just kind of keep that in mind and definitely work on trying to complete those. Like starting right before the start of wave 3, we get the walker gears. These things are absolutely brutal, so make sure you go and pick these up. But like I said, I think the ability to do that is going to be what adds some additional points for you, and it's definitely going to be beneficial if you're trying to get to those high S ranks. Like I said, the higher the rank you get, obviously, the better the rewards are going to be. So, you know, kind of keep that in mind and kind of work with your team. Beyond that, like I said, beyond a specific loadout that kind of fits your playstyle, obviously the more ranged ammo you can get, the better off. The better off that you can keep your standoff from the guys as well is obviously, you know, beneficial to keeping them as far away from the drill as you can. Something I would definitely recommend trying to do. And like I said, stagger your defenses. Put some defenses a little bit farther out and try to stick to those defenses and kill guys while they're there. And then from there, you know, obviously, if you need to fall back to kind of a fallback position, it's beneficial if you're working with a team of 4 that you can actually talk to. Have a couple people stay a little bit closer to the drill, and have a couple people be a little bit farther away. And again, the reason for that being is if you can, the more enemies that you can kill farther from the drill, the better off you're going to be. You can distract them. You can kind of move them a little bit more around the map that you want. But obviously it also just gives you some standoff to actually protect your defenses. That's the one thing I've seen people do that it doesn't always necessarily make sense to me, is you're going to put these defenses down and then you're going to just let them go. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend trying to protect them as much as you can, and then when the situation calls for it, fall back behind them if you need to. Don't forget that these bombers here, they have that weak spot in the back. But beyond that, after that, the only other thing I would say is just work as well as you can with the team. Obviously, again, beneficial if you can be in a party with the guys and talk to them. That way you can kind of talk through what defenses are going down. And don't be afraid. That's the other thing I've realized too. Don't be afraid if your defenses do get busted, but you kind of take down a portion of the wave that you're on. Don't be afraid to build up some more. The longer you can delay everything, the fact that these waves are timed is going to be huge for you. So and this wave was really tough. The enemies, there's quite a few of them. It's a very long wave, but the fact that we kind of kept building up and just kind of kept the pressure on to keep guys away from the drill, I think was the most beneficial. You're going to see me here. I actually get pretty hurt. I think I ended up, I'm not sure what hit me that got me damage like that, but I'm going to end up having to use a heal spray. Definitely recommend bringing in a full complement of those. And if you're having trouble like I was having a lot of trouble actually trying to get supplies that I needed. So for me, like, ammo was very scarce. I spent a lot of the gunpowder to craft actually trying to get shotgun ammo and rifle ammo. That's the one reason I didn't bring the rifle in for this one, is I just did not have any ammo for it, which really kind of sucked. But if you're struggling with that, my recommendation to you would be, especially if you've played a little bit and you've gotten some levels up, just play the easier missions. Run through the easier missions a couple of times. Try not to use anything that's going to cost you any sort of crazy materials. So for instance, when I would be playing those, I would bring the pistol and the shotgun in, but I would sincerely not use any of them. From that point, I would just try to use the bow, try to use my melee weapons, and then try to use, I guess, like, I would consider them the easy tools to craft. So I would craft like wire fences, and I would use those, and I would just do a lot of like wood barriers. And then when I'm in those easy missions, I'm just trying to essentially farm those easy materials, as well as farm some of the more expensive or tougher to find materials, so that obviously I can kind of build the stockpile and then kind of build my stockpile for everything else. So at this point, we're getting pretty close. We're down to the last 20 seconds. We obviously got a couple barriers just punched in the middle to try to slow these guys down. We see my team doing a pretty decent job of doing that stuff, and then we'll end up, just barely finishing this wave off. That thing took a ton of damage, but we're able to finish it off and get the win. The other interesting thing too is the fact that those tracker enemies are some of the toughest enemies that I've faced, overall, and they come in that third wave. So just keep an eye out for those. They do a freaking ton of damage, and they're super hard to hit because they're jumping around like crazy. But like I said, that's just kind of how we're sitting, and I did end up knocking out that mission with the S rank, which I was super happy about. I got a lot of really, really good gear that actually let me get to this point. So this is at level 18, pretty close. I've been able to play through, and this would be my preferred loadout if I had the ammo capability for everything. So I would definitely bring in your assault rifle. I would bring in the pole spear just to give you some standoff and be able to let you punch through that fence. Obviously the pistol and the shotgun, probably one of the best weapons in the game as far as the beta is concerned, so definitely bring that. I've got the fences in there, wire and wood. They're not terrible. The wood are okay. That was just because I had those craftable. I also do like the clay footholds so that you can stand on them. I think those are pretty good. I've got 3 shock traps, definitely beneficial. And then you can see it's really the right gadgets that are going to be the key. So I've got the spinning blades, which are just a good overall damage. And then I've got the 2 turrets and the 3 auto turrets. I really cannot stress enough how good the turrets are. If you set them up appropriately and you get a decent team that's decently leveled up with a good complement of this stuff, you guys shouldn't have too much of a problem. So get out there, test out the beta, see if this loadout or another loadout works good for you. Let us know in the comments. As always, I'm Doc from Average Gamer Guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.